Hi everyone, Islander Polly here. This time I think what we're going to do is talk about player safety. With over 25 players out with concussions right now, I think it's important that we discuss possibilities. And I've come up with a plan. I'd like you to share this link with others if you think this plan is a good one. It involves adjusting the lines. Um, National Hockey League is not going to take out seats or go into European style play. It's just going to cost too much money. Players are at risk in the current system because the game is played at about 3 times the speed it was played in the 1960s, yet we're playing on the same surface. The players are bigger, stronger, faster, and the way in which the puck handler is pursued by the defense has completely changed over the course of time over the last 30, 40 years that the game's been played. So, in my view, there needs to be an adjustment. As we know, concussions have been happening at an alarming rate, and it threatens the safety of players, their general health, and their livelihoods, but also threatens revenues for the league and gives the league a bad name. So I'd like to offer up my solution, which I have in front of Brendan Shanahan right now, and hopefully he's taking a look at it and considering the proposal. But if you'd like to forward this plan to anyone, please forward the link. Here are the goals of the plan, really to reduce concussions and increase player safety. Here's the idea. What we do is we take a new strategy, the strategy of new zone dimensions, and what we do is we move the blue lines from the current locations and move them in 5 feet, making the neutral zone approximately 40 feet as opposed to 50, and reducing the size of that neutral zone, and therefore kind of tweaking the speed of the game by making the distance between the defensive end boards and the opposing team's defensive blue line, or what you might call the offensive blue line. That would take that distance and make it a little bit shorter. So we're not going to take it to the levels where we bring back the red line and bring in the 2-line pass, but what we do is slow the game down just a tweak by bringing the blue lines in closer together. So we have a neutral zone now that's 40 feet instead of 50, and the icing lines would stay where they are. Additionally, we move the goals in 5 feet as well. And what that will do is maintain the traditional distance between goal line and blue line so that, shots from the point are still coming from the same distance, but it'll increase the distance behind the net, which will improve an opportunity for skilled players, reduce the need to have a trapezoid anymore, and generally improve the level of play in the offensive zone as we're increasing the size of the offensive zones, making more play away from the end boards, saving the goalies from having to go back there and risk injury, and reducing the likelihood of collisions at the blue line, as defenders will be less likely to step up and stand up at the blue line when they know they've got 5 feet additional space behind them, which totals to be about 425 feet of offensive zone space behind them. So here's how it looks. If we take the distance between the end boards in the defensive zone and the opposing team's blue line, it's now 120 feet versus 125. So we've slowed the game down just a little bit as players enter the neutral zone, reducing the potential for injury. We still are improving speed versus the previous center ice era, red line, 2-line pass era, and preventing the traditional trap play that Jacques Lemaire innovated, that really created what has been called a dead puck era. So scoring should still be very, very high, but we're just going to tweak the speed down just a little bit. And I'll share with you why I think scoring will be high as a result of increasing the size of the offensive zone on each side of the ice. Here what we show is that the traditional distance between the goal line and the blue line will be maintained, but what we'll have is a larger area behind the net. And by moving the goals forward closer to center ice by 5 feet, we will be increasing the overall area in the offensive zone by 425 square feet most of, if not all of that skating area behind the goal. It makes it safer because there's more room for both offensive and defensive players to operate behind the net. More play will occur away from the end boards, further reducing contact as defenders will be less likely to go behind the net when they know they're going to have trouble catching skilled players, and when they've got the net further up towards center ice to have to defend. The streaking offensive player will be less likely to crash into the end boards, and there'll be more scoring because there'll be an advantage to the skilled player. There'll be more play in the larger offensive zone, spreading the players out and giving more offensive chances, both created from behind the net and from in front of it. And let me go back for a second. The icing line stays where it is. So if folks are worried about that this rule change, might create more icings by moving the icing line up 5 feet, we're not going to do that. We'll leave the icing line where it is. Next, if we take a look at the zones from a defensive perspective, the defender is going to be less likely to stand somebody up at the blue line because he's got 5 more feet to cover in his offensive zone. He'll be further up the ice in trying to stand somebody up and further away from his goal, which he's going to be less likely to want to do. And additionally, he knows that he's got 425 additional square feet behind him that he needs to be responsible for. In terms of linear feet, you're going to have 80 feet from the blue line to the end boards, in which he's going to be responsible for. And in the past, it was 75 feet. So the defender is going to be a little more cautious about moving up at the blue line, and those violent collisions that we see in the neutral zone right now as players cross the blue line will in all likelihood be reduced. Next, what I'm suggesting here is a neutral zone, no check zone, where stick checking and coincidental body contact can take place. This rule would be implemented only when we're talking about a breakout pass coming from the defensive zone to a player who would receive it in the neutral zone. Most times that player receiving the puck is looking backwards for a pass as the defender is lining him up trying to crush him. And we've seen this hit a million times. I refer to it as the Scott Stevens hit. It's not a dirty hit, but really it's an extremely dangerous hit to a vulnerable receiver of the puck, much like what we see in the NFL, the hit that they've eliminated where a safety can no longer just crush a vulnerable pass receiver. This is along the same line. So stick checking, coincidental body contact would be fine. Let's face it, we're 100 feet from the goal here. There's no reason to have a heavy body check here and risk player safety for that. However, the caveat in this rule is that if a player is carrying the puck into the neutral zone, by all means he is free game and can be hit. So that's a new innovation that I think a lot of people are probably not thinking about when they consider moving the lines around. But again, the idea of moving the lines is so that we don't have to expand the ice surface and take valuable seats that are usually list priced at $300 a pop out of the arena and cause harm in terms of revenue to the franchise owners that are difficult to attract to a league right now, where a lot of franchises are not making as much money as they'd like. So I think this works in a lot of different ways. So this is a composite sketch of what the ice surface would look like, but primarily what we're looking at is a reduced neutral zone, which would slow the speed of the game down just a tweak, a larger offensive zone, which would create more room for players to operate in the offensive zone, moving the goals up so that there's more room behind the goal so that the goaltender is less likely to go back there in the first place to get hurt. Secondly, there'd be more room back there for skilled players to operate, and if they do get hit, they'll be further away from the boards. And last but not least, we've got a game that is still fast, a game that still delivers excitement, a game that still has hitting, but with the no contact neutral zone takes out the possibility of a player receiving a pass, looking in the wrong direction, getting walloped by a defender who can really do some long-term harm. Additionally, there's less likelihood of contact at the blue line, particularly with defensemen against forwards, as they'll be less likely to step up at the blue line and hit somebody with more ice to defend behind them. So I'd encourage you all to have an open mind about this plan, to take a look at it completely, and to really evaluate its merits. And if you'd like to share information with me about why it is you think it's a good plan or why it is you think it's a bad plan, please send it to islanderpolly@comcast.net. That's my email address, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And if anyone at the National Hockey League happens to get this video and plan, I sure hope you'd give me a call. I feel passionate about this. There's a lot more I can share with you about it, in that I've taken a look at this now for about 3 or 4 months and figuring how it is we'd work this plan out. And this seems to me to be the best solution for the league, because we can't take out seats, we can't bring the red line back in. So what else is it that we can do other than tweak the blue lines here and move the goals up? And I think this will improve scoring opportunities, reduce the risk of injury, and overall be a great plan for the league. So thanks for your consideration, everybody. And please, tweet this plan, send it around, share it with people. I think this is the best solution for our game. And if you know anybody in the National Hockey League, general managers, former players, or have any contacts that you might be able to forward this plan to, I think you'd be doing the league a great service, and I know I'd appreciate it greatly. So again, you can send your comments to islanderpolly@comcast.net, or you can look for me on Twitter. My handle is @islanderpolly. So thanks, guys, and hopefully someone at the league will take a look at this. Brendan Shanahan, I'm looking to hear from you. And Gary Bettman, I'd love to hear from you as well, and just have a 10-15 minute conversation about the merits of this plan. Thanks a lot, guys. It's a great day for hockey.